The first exercise in our series for lumbo-pelvic mobility is pelvic clock. If the belly button was 12 o'clock and the pubic bone was 6 o'clock, and I tilt my pelvis towards my belly button, I'm tilting towards 12 o'clock. If I tilt towards my pubic bone, I'm tilting to 6 o'clock. If I were to tilt to my right hip, that's 3 o'clock. And if I were to tilt towards my left hip, that's 9 o'clock. So we can move between 12 and 6. I'll hold my arms up so you can see. We're going from posterior tilt to anterior tilt. It's important to soften the ribs down as you tilt to 12 o'clock. So you want to feel a nice dropping of the rib cage and a softening of the breastbone. Then as you tilt to 6 o'clock, try inhaling. So you'll exhale as you tilt to 12 o'clock and inhale as you tilt to 6 o'clock. Once you feel comfortable moving between the two positions, find neutral and then begin to move around the clock, trying to create as much stillness through the knees and the feet as you circle around and around. Sometimes visualizing that the pelvis is a bowl and you've placed a marble in the bowl and you're circling the marble around the bowl helps to get that full circumduction. Then we're going to go the opposite direction 3 to 5 times, moving around, trying to feel that we're not skipping any areas of the clock or any numbers on the clock. And that's pelvic clock. From here we can go into a hip escalator, which moves us from a posterior tilt into a bridging position using the exercise to mobilize our spine also. As you roll down, make sure you release the chest away from the chin, roll the sternum down, roll each rib down like they're a stripe around you or a ring. You do not want to skip any of the rings of your ribs as you roll down. Breathe in to prepare, and on the exhale, posteriorly tilt or pelvic clock tilt to 12 o'clock, soften the rib cage and begin to roll up off from the mat until the weight of your body's on the shoulder blades, making sure to keep the neck open and free. Take a breath in at the top, and then on the exhale, release your chest and your sternum. Roll each of your rib rings down one at a time. Try not to skip any parts through the mid-back, all the way through low back, sacrum, and tail. And that is hip escalators. Next, I'm going to turn onto my hands and knees for a series of exercises quadruped or on all fours. Starting on the hands and knees, make sure that the spine is in neutral. We don't want to be flexed, we don't want to be extended, and we don't want the head to hang below the body. So keep the neck aligned with the spine, since it is part of the spine, and maintaining a neutral spine. Take a breath in, filling your back with air, and on the exhale, start at the tail and begin to curl the tail under. Feel the spine round and flex towards the ceiling, ending with the nose. Obviously, the nose is not part of the spine, but we want to visualize that the nose is the top and the tail is the bottom. Because we're emphasizing low back mobility and hip mobility, we're going to start with the tail and release the tail first, moving along to the spine until our nose is up and our nose and our tailbone are reaching away from each other. To go into cat, which this is often called, we start with the tail, curling up, rolling through each vertebrae, ending with the nose, and then again start with the tail and end with the nose. And you can alternate and start with the nose instead, but again, we're working on lumbo-pelvic stability, so I want to try to get that low back mobilized in a gentle way. Find neutral position, and now we're going to do poodle tail. So you're going to pretend you're a little poodle with your tail sticking out behind you, and it can have a little puff on it. And that little tail is dipped in paint, And we're going to draw circles with our tail on the wall behind us. So I'm drawing or painting circles on that wall. And you want to feel that you're not skipping any parts of that circle. So your poodle tail is painting a circle on the wall behind you. Notice that I'm not really moving through my upper back. It's just my pelvis. And then reverse. And really we're just doing a more exaggerated form of pelvic clock, but this is much more mobilizing, it's looser, and it's a little freer, especially if you're restricted through hip joints and pelvis and sacral areas, or sacrum, through the sacrum. Then go back to a neutral spine, and after poodle tail, we're going to do tail wag. So for tail wag, keep your knees planted to the floor. Make sure your spine is in neutral, head aligned with spine. Lift one foot from the floor. So I'm lifting my left foot closest to the camera so you can see. I'm going to pretend it's a tail, and I'm a little doggy, and this is my tail. And I'm going to wag my tail to my left and look at my tail like I'm very curious about it, but I'm looking around my shoulder, so I'm actually laterally flexing my spine to the left a little bit. And then I'm going to wag it to the right, and I'm going to again try to look onto the outside, around the outside of my shoulder at my tail. And then we're going to continue to wag back and forth gently, making sure that the left knee stays on the mat as the tail wags. And you just want to move with ease through this. Try not to force anything. And most importantly, don't look under the arm. So make sure that you, even if you can't quite see it, you're looking around the outside of the arm and shoulder. So this is what it looks like with the right foot. I'm actually going to bring my knees a slight bit closer together just so it feels and looks a little different as an option. Usually I keep the knees sit bone width apart or hip width apart. So from here I'm going to lift my right foot. Remember, don't lift the right knee, keep it on the mat. I'm going to start wagging the tail to the right. It's usually a little easier to go that direction, not always, just depends on where your tightness is. And then I'm going to wag it to the left. And I'm going to wag back and forth. Just breathe naturally, so you can just inhale and exhale in whatever direction you want, as long as you're breathing. Make sure not to hold the breath because that will limit mobility through the spine. And that completes our lumbo-pelvic mobility exercises.